Just imagine a peaceful world where phishing attacks don't bother you anymore, or where data breaches happening every day in our industry doesn't give you nightmares. Hello, and welcome to our video lecture series, Azure Security. I am Piyush Goyal from Detox Technologies. And today I'll be talking about my dear friend, multi-factor authentication, how it can be implemented in Azure, and what are the tweakings that we can make to uh, let attackers not bypass our MFA. So let's begin with. So what's the threat? The threat is consistent and it's user passwords that can be compromised. User passwords are always vulnerable. They can be compromised mainly due to human error. Humans always use the same passwords over multiple websites. One of the website goes down and their password is shared. Or it can be that an attacker has brute forced the password. It's a weak password and attacker is able to dehash the password. Such compromised passwords can be found over many places in the internet, and there can be several other ways where user password can be found by an attacker. So what's the solution? It's simple: enforce multi-factor authentication. I'm focusing on the word enforce and not enable, because enforcing and enabling are different aspects in Azure, and we'll talk about it. There's a slight difference in enforcing and enabling multi-factor authentication in Azure. So can MFA be bypassed? Suppose we have set up our NFA and we have configured all the policies for multi-factor authentication, like sending a PIN to the phone or calling a phone number to verify if a user is present or not, or registered device or from a registered IP address. But can MFA be bypassed? And the answer is yes, MFA can be bypassed. The first is legacy authentication. There are several protocols that do not support MFA. For example, there's Office 2010, there's SMTP service, there's POP service. We talked about conditional access in our previous video, and we talked about how we can block legacy authentication. But just after enabling the MFA without conditional access, if suppose we do not have Azure AD Premium, can we block the legacy authentication sign-ins? The second is trusted devices and IP. This is a risk, since if we have added trusted devices and IP in our MFA settings, so for suppose if a user logs in from a particular device by completing the MFA, that device won't be asked for MFA for a few days. So is that a right practice, and can it lead to MFA bypass? Then it's MFA brute force. MFA can be brute force. We enter a pin in MFA. That's the pin that is sent to our phone, and that pin can be brute forced by an attacker. So that can potentially bypass our NFA. And the last is stolen device. What if the device is stolen? The trusted device is stolen by an attacker, and an attacker uses it. It leverages it to take our account. So these are some of the risks associated with MFA that we'll be discussing in this video. So let's get our hand dirty and jump to our tutorial. So this is my free account. This is my Azure account, and here's my Azure Active Directory. For MFA, I'm a global administrator in this tenant, and let's go to users, and these are my users, and let's see for multi-factor authentication. So we can allow multi-factor authentication. We can look for how many users have enabled or disabled multi-factor authentication, but there's one more column of enforced multi-factor authentication. So the difference between enabling and enforcing multi-factor authentication is that by enforcing a multi-factor authentication, till the time a user registers for his mobile number for the first time, legacy authentications won't work. So this is the primary difference. If the MFA is enabled, the legacy authentications will keep on working. But if it is enforced, the legacy authentications will not work until a user has registered. So let's see if, okay, this user has not been registered. We can manage user settings, or we can enable the multi-factor authentication through this way. Okay, so we have enabled it, and we can see it enabled. After enabling, a user can enforce the settings after it has registered its mobile number, after he has registered his mobile number over the Microsoft. So let's see our more of the threats that we had discussed and their countermeasures. So when we go to service settings, the first setting we see is app passwords. So what are app passwords? App passwords are the passwords that are generated by the application that do not support MFA. These are different from user passwords since the application itself generates it. So these are strong passwords. For example, Microsoft Office 2010 is an application. It doesn't support MFA, but it can generate an app password to be used by the user instead of MFA. So by this setting, we allow users to create app passwords to sign into non-browser apps. Non-browser apps like Office 2010. There can be other apps as well. Like there were some mails before iOS 11. So trusted IPs. Trusted IPs are those where administrator trust that, okay, if my users are coming from this IP, they do not need MFA. Personally, I do not recommend trusted IPs since an attacker can spoof the network or can be present within the network to access the account. Verifications options can be to call the phone, text the phone, notification through mobile app, and verification code. So these are by default settings. And at last, we have remember multi-factor authentication on trusted device. This is for the trusted device. So if I am, for suppose, logging for the first time through my MacBook Pro, then and I'm completing MFA, then for the next time it won't ask for my MFA. By default, this setting is disabled, and I personally recommend to let this setting be disabled. So okay, this is also in the CIS standards as well, to let this setting be disabled. Many organizations enable it for the user convenience, but somehow we are putting stake the security of user. Okay, so let's get back to users and our Azure Active Directory tenant. And let's see how we can counter the other threats that I was talking about. I go to security in Azure Active Directory and I go to MFA. In the MFA, the first thing I see is account lockout. Remember I said that one of our threat is that a user or an attacker can brute force the MFA pin. So how can we prevent that? So we can prevent it by setting the number of times that an MFA denial will trigger an account lockout. So after 5 tries, the account will be logged out for 10 minutes. We can reset these values and for 100 minutes, for 1,000 minutes, up to a maximum of 10,000 minutes. So this will prevent any of a malicious user from using this account. So, and for our last thread, for suppose if a device is stolen and it is a trusted device, then how can we prevent that device from being misused? It's simple. We just block the user. By default, Azure will block the user for 90 days, and there's nothing that we can do about it besides unblocking the user before that. So let's say my user is Piyush.girl. That's my personal account. And let's say the reason can be anything. So, okay. So my user is blocked for 90 days. This user won't be able to initiate any attempt of authentication, and it will be denied. It won't be redirected to the MFA screen. It would be denied before that. So we can unblock a user for suppose if the device is found or we have created a new device, we can then unblock the user, and we say that, okay, the reason can be anything, and we have unblocked the user. So this mitigates our threat of stolen device as well. So through this video, we have seen how we have mitigated 4 of the common threats that through which the MFA can be bypassed. That's it for today, and tune up. We'll be discussing about more of the Azure threats in our video lecture series of Azure Security. Thank you.